Hey guys, and welcome to an absolutely wild game of Warhammer 3. I'm a Rubber Duck of War, but today we're going to be showcasing a domination match between the mighty forces of Samurai Warrior leading the forces of Tzeentch up against Inticity and his Grand Cathay. He is certainly the big Grand Cathay in the game at the moment. He has been dominating a lot of games, so we're going to have to see what Samurai Warrior does do to try to counteract the Cathay might. So let's slow down the battle quickly and go through the builds. If you guys are confused about domination mode and what we are watching today, I did do a guide on the new competitive game mode for Total War Warhammer 3. It is a video I did, I believe, yesterday, so feel free to go check that out if you don't understand about the capture objectives and the reinforcements. Now, for the forces of the mighty Tzeentch, we do have triple blue horrors making up the majority of this main battle line, backed up by 2 units of pink horrors as well. Really lovely amounts of damage. They can really pour it on thick, but can be a little bit squishy in combat, so you've got to be a bit careful to pin the enemy in place and to allow them to really shine. We have the Doom Knights of Tzeentch up in the skies. Probably my favorite unit in the game right now, or at least my favorite Tzeentch unit. There's too many awesome units to really count, but the Doom Knights are disgustingly tanky with their shields, which just gives them even more kind of durability, plus 100 armor. They are really quite a good utility, fast-moving unit that dominates the battlefield. We do have Kairos Fate Weaver, or Kairos Fate Weaver, however you want to pronounce his name, leading the battle line. The two-headed Duck Lord himself is quite a fantastic combatant. He's coming in with the Oracle of Eternity, giving that 44% damage resistance, which is super nice. The Gaze of Fate, a very powerful hex, which pins the enemy in place and lowers melee attack, and then a load of juicy buffs. And the spells he's bringing today is the Pendulum and the Glean Magic. So Glean Magic basically gives you more Winds of Magic and takes away Winds of Magic from your opponent. Pendulum is, as you've seen it before in Total War Warhammer 2, a lovely wind spell attack. Now, across the battlefield for him is going to be the forces of Inticity's Cathay. He's gone for swift movers on the flanks in the form of Peasant Bowmen and Jade Lancers, one on each side. Jade Lancers, much more tank and durable than the Peasants. Peasant Horsemen are about as useful as you expect. Very good at claiming objectives and being swift, not so good in an actual scrap. Main battle line is going to be double Jade Warriors with Halberds. We have Jade Warriors leading the battle line. We do have a Terracotta Sentinel, and I can say firsthand, I have nightmares of Inticity's Terracotta Sentinels stalking my sleep. They're unbreakable and very tanky with over 12k HP. They're a nightmare to deal with, particularly with Mao Ying's healing. But we don't have Mao Ying today. Instead, we have a dragon-blooded Lord coming on quite a fantastic steed. I love the scaled armor on the horse. Looks particularly awesome. This is a spellcaster for Cathay, relatively cheap as well, coming in with Arcane Conduit, Power of Yin, which is a nice little hex to drop on the enemy, and we have the Master of the Elemental Winds. And where are their spells? There we go. We have Ancestral Warriors, able to summon a unit of Ancestral Warriors to the battlefield, and the Blossom Wind. Decent AP wind attack. Not going to be fantastic up against the infantry here of Tzeentch. Very good up against Forsaken and other units, however. So we still have 2 minutes before the objectives can indeed be captured. Looks like we might have a bit of a skirmish on the right-hand side. Peasant Horsemen and Jade Lancers outnumber the Doom Knights, but they certainly do not outclass them. The Doom Knights are chasing and hounding the horses up the hill, slowly dragging them down. Looks like they're trying to flee as much as possible and drag the Doom Knights into the trees, though we do have the Fate Weaver nearby for a bit of support if it does come down to it. Now, in the main fight, Inticity getting nice and aggressive with his Jade Lancers, slamming home into the blue horrors of Tzeentch, who are getting deleted in seconds. Not a good day for them. The pink horrors and other blue horrors hearing the dying screams of their friends, don't really think too much of it, and instead going after the enemy front line. And look at these plasma grenade style laser beams launching in on the enemy. Lots of color and lots of death, though. It looks like Inticity is having quite a good game already. He's whipped some peasant horsemen up and around the flank, and they're starting to dominate the central point with all of the blue horrors and pink horrors being dragged into combat. This is really not where they want to be whatsoever. They are quite squishy and definitely want to be doing the range power where possible. Looks like the Doom Knights have been brought back into reserve. We also have our first summon of the day in the form of Chaos Furies being brought in to try to shore up the back line, because it is very messy at the moment. Fate Weaver himself is having to dive down into combat. Now, he's not the greatest melee combatant. He does drop a big fat pendulum, though, and he really does shine in the magic game, doing some massive damage to those Jade Warrior halberds there. And look at the animations of the Terracotta Sentinel, really ripping it up and trying to dominate to the center. I think Tzeentch probably wants to fall back here a little bit, maybe go after the side ones. Going up against Cathay, they're not the fastest faction, so I have found they tend to dominate the mid, and you can pull them apart in other ways. Looks like the mighty Doom Knights of Tzeentch are falling back after dismantling some peasant horsemen, as well as the mighty Kairos Fate Weaver getting back up in the skies. Fortunately, there's a bug at the moment, which will hopefully be removed rather soon, where the game randomly will go into slow motion in these replays. So don't worry, it doesn't happen during the games. We're about to see a lovely 2-for-1 puncher. This is very popular. A Gaze of Fate goes down on the Jade Warriors, pinning them in place, and you follow up with a pendulum. It does disgusting damage, and in fact, they actually start to break there, the Jade Warriors. Luckily, Jade Lancers come charging down the hill into the Blue Horrors, and I think Cathay has got probably the better of the early engagements, really uses his cavalry rather effectively, and you can see they're now dominating the battlefield with Jade Lancers and Peasant Horsemen all around the back there. We do get a summon as well of Ancestral Warriors onto the battlefield to support the mighty Terracotta Sentinel. They're certainly going to be able to rip and tear into the enemy. They look like stone warriors from a bygone era. Now, summoned units cannot capture objectives. You can, of course, if you summon them from your back line here, but not summons as in, your classic Skaven summons, for example. Hero's Fate Weaver is flying high in the skies. The Blue Horrors of Tzeentch are trying their best up against the Jade Lancers, but it really is a tough fight here in the middle. You can see two of the objectives are held by Tzeentch, though. The one up in the high ground with some Forsaken of Tzeentch guarding that one, and down on the left we have some Peasant Horsemen capturing one for Cathay. But in the center, it is all Tzeentch, baby, and that is because though they don't have many troops here, they've got a lot more infantry troops who are better at capturing said objectives, so it does seem like Cathay starting to get it back now. In the distance, we have seen a nice summon of the Grand Cannon, though. It's instantly being jumped. Now, artillery is still very good in Warhammer 3, but it is far more vital that you protect it, because fast movers are very common in this game mode, so you got to protect it from flies. We have one unit of Jade Warriors here. They're not halberds, though, and so the Grand Cannon may survive this duel just yet. The mighty Doom Knights are floating back to the main fight. They've been all around the battlefield so far, up to 53 kills and barely taken a scratch. The center, though, is being dominated by Cathay, and you can see they now own 1 and 2 objectives. They're getting far more points. They've got a little bit of catching up to do, though. Intensity was a little slow on the draw, but it is now getting back into it, and that can often be the way with Cathay. We have some Forsaken who need to be activated and pushed into the melee. Chaos Knights of Tzeentch look fantastic. I love their color scheme. They're trying their best, but that Terracotta Sentinel is really terrifying. It's so good at cleaving its way through infantry and cavalry alike. Not the greatest single entity fighter, but can still do a relatively decent job. We have a glorious dragon being summoned onto the battlefield here. That is going to be the Ancestral Warriors once more, being pushed in to really dominate the mid. Now, Forsaken have been pushed onto the Jade Warriors, looking to counter the center where possible. Likewise, we have some Blue Horrors coming in to bring the pain, but it is looking really, really rough for Tzeentch, despite the early dominant lead here on the captured points. We still have these Doom Knights, though. They're very healthy. Good kind of keeping them alive for the duration of the game so far, coming in by Samurai Warrior. Likewise, Fate Weaver is doing a solid job. We do get a second Terracotta Sentinel brought into action, which is a little bit of a big problem for the forces of Tzeentch. We are going to see a nice pendulum, though, trying to cleave out some of the enemy infantry and force them off this central objective, with Chaos Knights and Tzeentch being spawned into the world. We can see you got more Pink Horrors and more Blue Horrors all being poured in, but these objectives on the flanks are just completely uncontested at the moment. Just one unit Forsaken guarding the right-hand side, and Intensity hasn't even guarded his left-hand one yet, so we'd like to see some Chaos Knights or Horrors perhaps sneak up here and apply a bit of pressure, because that mid-fight is going really well for Cathay so far. Peasant Horsemen continue to drive in. It looks like the Ancestral Warriors are being focused down by the Blue Horrors. We're about to receive a nasty charge from the Jade Lancers. Lancers lowered, lads, and they hop and bound in. You can see the shields exploding on the Blue Horrors as they get flung across the battlefield here. In the distance, Chaos Fate Weaver's doing a decent job just hounding and harassing the enemy back line, it would seem, with the Doom Knights, just trying to stop enemy reinforcements coming in, which is a tactic I'm a big fan of doing, particularly with Tzeentch, because they can be relatively fast and mobile. The backup Forsaken have decided to throw away guarding this objective, and they're going to push down into the mid now. The poor little Blue Horrors about to receive a rather nasty spell, I think. Oh no, it looks like it was indeed cancelled. Pink Horrors as well as Blue Horrors try to hold the line. You can see that lovely animation does start to rock through there. That includes blinding Blue Horrors. Won't do the most damage to them though, however, because they, of course, it is an armor-piercing specialist spell. Chaos Knights have moved forward. I love seeing heavy knights like this in action. They're going to start capturing the left-hand flank here and that extra objective. And Samurai's certainly starting to fall away on the ticket, so he needs these objectives as quickly as possible. Now, Cavalry will capture objectives slightly worse than infantry, so they're faster at getting there but slower at capturing. Doom Knights are zooming along, looking to surfboard down, perhaps get a rear charge on these Jade Lancers and attempt to protect the investment of the Pink Horrors, and it seems like that's just what they're going to do, swooping in to the enemy rear, clattering them down, and sort of wheeling their blades around in arcs of death and destruction. Many horses will go down. Jade Lancers are quite mid-tier cavalry. They're good, but they're not Doom Knight charging them in the rear and surviving good. So two units of Jade Lancers look like they're going to be going down here. We do have another unit of Forsaken summoned in the distance. We have a nice little slow-mo overview of the battlefield right now. On this right-hand side, Chaos Knights are starting to dominate. We also have the support coming in of Blue Horrors and some more Blue Horrors. Really looking to push the high ground where possible. Left-hand side is just uncontested because Cathay have committed almost all of their forces to the center, attempting to win the big blob fight. And they certainly have won it. And it's going pretty good so far. Terracotta Sentinels are holding firm. I love the split here. So we have one Terracotta Sentinel in the center, hoping to hold down this objective with the support of so many Halberd units. And the second Terracotta Sentinel is going to be driving uphill to attempt to wrestle control back of this objective. As you can see, it is turning more and more in favor of Tzeentch. Cathay have it for now, but the Blue Horrors of Tzeentch are really lighting up the Peasant Longbowmen, or Spearmen, I should say, doing some really decent damage. Chaos Knights have so much armor, it's probably worth just turning and engaging this. There's a lot of Spearmen here, but they won't really be able to pierce the thick hide of the Chaos Knights horses or their armor or even their shields. You can see that little blue shield on top of them is holding firm, and it looks like this objective will be taken perhaps by Tzeentch. So there is many peasant along spearmen here, and the Terracotta Sentinel has arrived just in time. In fact, it looks like Cathay might be able to cling onto this objective, which would be huge because they are considerably ahead now in the ticket race at the top. Down on the right though, Forsaken still vibing, still just holding that objective. In the middle is just completely Cathay now. Pink Horrors have moved up and Blue Horrors. It's going to be interesting to see what Samurai does do to try to rectify this situation. I love this overload on the left-hand flank because it's either going to force Cathay to give up the center and invest units onto this left-hand side or make a tactical push of their own onto the enemy flag there. Pink Horrors moving up. We also have Chaos Furies being summoned in by Samurai. Very swift, going to be able to get to the front line pretty damn quickly. And it does look like once again Tzeentch will start to claim this. A lovely wind spell coming in though by Intisity to try to rid the realms of these pesky Chaos Knights. And they're taking massive damage now. That Terracotta Sentinel doing some good jobs, but it is losing the objective. Now we do have a load of Peasant Long Spearmen being pushed in again just to try to hold it where possible, though Blue Horrors are coming in and Pink Horrors doing some lovely long range shots down the realms. Doom Knights of Tzeentch going to start attacking the enemy reinforcements, attempting to stall them and stop them from getting onto that objective and saving it for Cathay. Jade Warrior Crossbowmen not going to have a good day up against the Doom Knights of Tzeentch. Have been zipping around the battlefield all day long so far, doing some fantastic harass and really good assassination unit. Pink Horrors and Blue Horrors about to get jumped by a Terracotta Sentinel. Not going to be a big fan of that. Looks like Kairos Fate Weaver has moved over to this side to attempt to claim it for Tzeentch. It is going back and forth in the control of both players. It is currently for Cathay, barely clinging on here. Big fat pendulum cleaves through many a peasant long spearman there, and with the Doom Knights coming in, this should be a clean capture for Tzeentch. At least you would hope, but it does seem like Cathay is starting to push up a decent amount of their forces from the middle reserve. We can see Jade Warriors all being going up here. We're going to see one of the big effects, though, coming in from Tzeentch. It's one of their army traits. If you save up enough, you can do a pretty damn awesome bombardment. Purples and blues light the path to your death and carnage. Jade Lancers getting roasted here in the middle. Jade Warriors also going to be taking considerable damage here. It does look like Tzeentch eventually were able to wrestle control of this objective on the left-hand side. Is it going to be enough, though? They've committed a lot of forces to attempt to claim this. Chaos Knights have surrounded the Terracotta Sentinel, which continues to hound and harass them. The Doom Knights going to be swooping in, perhaps trying to pin in all of these reinforcements getting chucked in against the Doom Knights. It looks like the Doom Knights decide, actually, we're going to try to win fights and hunt down peasant horsemen rather than sacrificing our bodies on the line to hold this objective, perhaps scheming a central push as well, knowing that this hold can't last for too long. Big fat pendulum comes in. That was horrifically good damage there onto the Jade Warriors, who are quite tightly compact, going all the way down there HP wise. Fate Weaver is getting down and dirty, going after the dragon-blooded lord here and really trying to force them back. Terracotta Sentinels are holding firm. No healing today on the field for Cathay. They can bring healing, Earthbloods and Regrowths from one of their lords, and we get the glorious Flamers of Tzeentch. They can do some disgusting damage. Relatively decent armor piercing as well, and these big puffy clouds may look fun and, you know, you might want to jump in them. They look quite fluffy, but they can really tear down these large entities or roast the infantry. We can see Doom Knights also starting to swoop in here. Halberds being pushed in, more Jade Warriors being pushed in. We also have some Jade Warrior crossbowmen support. I don't think it's long before this objective does go back to Cathay, but it has certainly started to narrow the gap a little bit for Tzeentch, who are currently on 3,200 tickets to 4,000 in the race for 5,000 points. Terracotta Sentinel does go down though to the combined fire of the Flamers of Tzeentch and the Pink Horrors of Tzeentch. Lovely damage coming in, and bye-bye Terracotta Sentinel. I am very happy to see the back of you there. This objective is still held by Tzeentch, and they're doing a really good job just clinging onto it for now. The center is also starting to turn green because we have Pink Horrors chucking their bodies on the line. It doesn't matter if they can't defeat the Terracotta Sentinel as long as they can wrestle this objective away from the enemy, because we may see a triple cap here from Tzeentch, and by God do they need it if they want to cling on here. So it is now Tzeentch, Tzeentch, and Tzeentch. They have the triple cap, meaning Anticities Cathay are going to be getting 0 points. This objective is open. Getting some horsemen to bomb along here and capture this maybe wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. The middle is looking pretty scary for both players. Not many troops left as both of them committed so much to this big fat left-hand side engagement. Flamers of Tzeentch as well as Pink Horrors have found themselves in combat, certainly not where they want to be whatsoever, and it looks like Cathay is starting to claw back. This is our land. You shall leave, foul demons, from whence you came. Jade Warriors carving their way through Blue Horrors here. Jade Warriors are so freaking cool, man. They're doing some pretty decent jobs as well. You can see a lot of the Tzeentch forces are starting to crumble and disappear back into the warp. We have the glorious Fate. We're doing a decent job, though. He's up to 315 kills. Had some top-class pendulums coming in from Samurai so far, and he's been alive the entire game, just reaping havoc. Left-hand side is now being dominated by Cathay, but the score lines have started to even out. The middle fight is slightly in favor of Tzeentch at the moment, despite the fact they're taking huge losses to this Terracotta Sentinel. The Forsaken have been brought up from reserve to add a little bit more holding power for Tzeentch, because Blue Horrors and Pink Horrors, they'll do the job. They're one of your cheap holding units, but they're not very tanky, and with cavalry coming in and a Terracotta Sentinel, it might be a little bit too much. So for the first time in the game, it looks like Tzeentch is back in the lead, or at least first time for a very long time in the game. Fate Weaver is starting to hound down the enemy dragon-blooded lord here, as well as some Screamers of Tzeentch, who are actually anti-large. Very squishy, I found them, but they are good. They look kind of like flatfish, coming in, surrounding the lord, and actually terrifying them away from this central objective. A load of spearmen is just being poured in now as the timer ticks on, and he knows, Intensity knows, I have to get objectives as quickly as possible. Sending some cavalry over here would be great, but Blue Horrors of Tzeentch do stand their ground bravely, at least whilst they're winning. The left-hand side is now commanded by Grand Cathay, but Forsaken shall be moving down into the center fight to help out where possible, and it looks like a very close victory for Tzeentch. They were barely clinging on there at the end. A real nice back and forth game. I feel like Tzeentch got some nice objective play earlier on, and Cathay kind of dominated the battlefield, and then it flipped. And a really nice comeback there from Samurai Warrior, and once he got his nose in the lead, he was not letting up for anything, and unfortunately for Anticities Cathay, they weren't quite able to drag it back. But a fantastic game of domination from these two lads. At the moment, you can't see their names, which is a little bit annoying, because I'm going to completely forget. I've got so many replays, I'm going to forget who's who at different times. But I do remember this one quite clearly, and I think that's just because of the build we're on. It doesn't show names at the moment. Very well played to both these lads in a quite fantastic game. Massively impressed with the play of the Doom Knights of Tzeentch, getting 1,449 value, plus just pinning up, hounding, harassing, delaying the reinforcements of Cathay, allowing Tzeentch to get back into the game, which I think was quite a crucial moment. Fate Weaver is so powerful. I must admit, I do like the generic Greater Demon for Tzeentch, because he can summon Furies to the battlefield, which is really useful in a clutch situation, but Fate Weaver is very powerful. 315 kills, 3,194 damage value. It was certainly very scary stuff. Now, I'll go through the damage dealt and damage value of all these units in just a second, but if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a big, fat, juicy thumbs up. Subscribe as well for more Total War Warhammer content into the future. And comment down below what you thought of the battle. Bucket ton of links in the description to Twitch, Patreon, Discord, where you can submit replays to me. I am still taking Warhammer 2 replays, but you guys are going to be getting a lot more Warhammer 3 content now on the channel than Warhammer 2. So very exciting stuff in the future. I'm so happy that Warhammer 3 is nearly upon us all. And I've got to say, this game mode, the Domination game mode, which is going to be the competitive like ladder ranked system in Game 3, is insanely fun to play. It is so fresh. And it's kind of hard to describe to people because you guys haven't played it yet. But once you guys get your hands on it, play 1 or 2 games, you're gonna love it. It is so good. And it also fixes a lot of the issues that we did have in the competitive scene for Warhammer 2. Once again, well played to Samurai, well played to Intisti. Massive shout out to them. I've been playing a lot of games with them. Big shouts to Turin, Dove, Plays as well, HDS. All these guys I've been playing games with, and you'll be seeing a load of replays from me and them in the future, no doubt. So yeah, Tzeentch did a really good job. 3,200 pretty much damage of value, 315 kills. We've already gone over the Doom Knights of Tzeentch, one of my favourite units, both thematically and in-game. The Pink Horrors got 50 kills, 67, 94, 23, and 46 from the Blue Horrors. Damage value, 600, 1,100, 600, 500 and 1,100, so not bad on the little boys there. Of course, they're quite cheap, and when they die, you can buy them back, and their damage value will represent all of their lives kind of combined here. These are the kind of backup units that we could have seen from Samurai Warrior if he wanted to use them. I don't think he used all of them, but he did bring many in. Chaos Knights of Tzeentch, 1,100 value. And anything else of note, I was a big fan of the Flamers. They weren't on the battlefield for too long, but boy oh boy did they make a big impact. Only 500 value, but they helped secure that left-hand victory point, which was really crucial. Forsaken did good, mid 500s damage value. It looks like a relatively similar for the Screamers of Tzeentch, at least the unit who made it in. Everything else, I think, Furies did a good job. Nice harass. We got 135 kills and 980 value on them. That was kind of the standout from the reserves. As for the Mighty Intisti, he does normally like the main kind of Dragon Lady for Grand Cathay, but obviously we're all trying out stuff and trying to learn tactics. So he mixed up a little bit and bought the Dragon-Blooded Lord, who got 87 kills, only 880 damage dealt though. She is actually pretty powerful, but not really with the toolkit. We were trying out spells, and I don't think her wind spell was the best, at least in this situation. I can see her doing much better against the heavily armored forces of someone like Khorne. 106 kills on the Terracotta Sentinel, 1.2k damage value. These things do not like dying. They hold the line for absolutely ages. Jade Lancers got 600 and 380 damage value, being really outclassed, unfortunately, by the enemy. And the infantry really suffered across the board. Likewise, did the other cavalry. The second Terracotta Sentinel, 830 damage dealt, but was very healthy in the latter stages of the battle. Cannon got 500 value, and elsewhere it seems like relatively low hundreds. All these forces simply being brought up to try to support where possible and capture objectives, though somehow this unit of Peasant Horsemen, who was a reserve troop, got 68 kills and 1,000 damage dealt. That is disgusting. Probably hunting down Pink and Blue Horrors, I would expect. Also, yeah, was there enough? Which did pretty good. Yeah, 625 value on the Jade Warrior Crossbowman. Not bad whatsoever. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. It was a massive fun to cast. I'm going to be doing a load more of these in the future. So until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.